Dr. Danger Massa here, and I've got this lovely piece which I am going to restore today and take you through it. So let's get cracking. So we have little marks here which we're going to have to deal with here, here. The door doesn't shut properly. You can see there's a gap, a lump here, which would only degrade if we just left it like that because it would catch on things. We have chunks missing here. The front has been very badly painted. Let's have a look at the back. There's a chunk missing out here with screws visible, but the back is really nice quality tongue and groove, so it's not a cheap piece. Someone's spent some time and effort, so we're now going to date it. My initial thought is this is Victorian, but we need to be more definite than my initial thought. The first thing I always do when dating is look at the drawers. Right. First of all, you look at these joints here. Now these are hand cut dovetail joints, and you can tell they're hand cut because they're very uneven. This gives us a rough initial date because machine cut dovetail joints didn't come into common production till about 1895. So we know we're looking around about that time, a little bit earlier maybe. The second thing we look at is the base of the drawer. Very early drawers had what's called rabbet joints and solid planed bases 1/4 of an inch thick. Now this here is actually plywood. Now plywood came into common production in about the 1920s, so this piece is not as old as it looks. It's a bit of an anomaly though, because the dovetail joints are saying kind of pre-1895 and this is saying kind of 1920. So, you know, you can go somewhere in the middle and say early 1900s, maybe 1910. So another thing to look at is hardware. Now if you look here, that's a breast knob, and that to me screams original. It's even got dents in from years of use and stuff like that, and it's got a patina on it, which suggests age, and also the way it's constructed. It's very old-fashioned. You don't get that on any pieces of furniture today. It's like a rivet type fastening on there. Let's have a look at the hardware inside. Now that to me is a really nice piece of hardware. I am not entirely sure if it's original. You can normally tell from the screws. I would guess that it is. And so someone has spent some money putting this together properly, this piece, what with the tongue and groove back and the hardware. If we move up to the hardware here, that is not original. I'll tell you straight away, because you don't have those silver bits on this, on a knob in that period. Silver there and silver there. So we can confirm that by looking inside. Yep, modern screw and modern bolt. So there you have it. These are replacement parts. So what we're going to do, the plan of action, is we're going to do all the repairs. We're going to get rid of that horrible upcycling paint stuff, repair dents and dings, and then we're going to finish it. So let's get cracking. Right, first thing to do when we're repairing the ding is upend the piece so we've got a flat work surface. It just makes it so much easier. Make sure that you've covered what it's going to be lying on so you don't damage the wood. What we're looking at here is a chip out the wood and a little bit of degradation here. And someone's left a kind of rabbity thing stuck to it. I was lucky enough to find this bit because it dropped out of the person's van when they gave me this piece. So I picked it up and it fits. So what we need is glue, wood glue. Top tip, always put blue tack on it so it doesn't dry out afterwards. You apply the glue into the chip like that. You can always wipe this off, it's quite easy to get rid of. Okay, apply the chip. Yes. Once that's in situ, you then need to clamp it to keep it in position. And once that sets, it will be phenomenally strong. Next thing we're going to do is wood filler. Now I've got this one, which is a coloured wood filler. It says dark oak, but it doesn't come out like dark oak at all. I use this tool. I find it very effective, and it allows you to be quite accurate with what you're doing. So the thing is, you can't put too much on at once like that. You just build it up bit by bit by bit and let it dry, and then put another bit on like that. Don't forget, it will be sanded down, so it doesn't have to be a fine finish. We've got this bit here. We smooth that on like that. You want to get it as close to the surface as possible, so you've got as little sanding to do as possible. There we go. There was some fairly rough holes on the front face that I decided I just want to give a quick fill to. Like that. Just to tidy it up, really. Serves no functional purpose. If we move down here. The thing about filling is, I would say, be cautious, because if it's on a front face, you don't want an antique piece with loads of filler all over it. And things like this, they add to the character. I would just actually leave that. Okay, so we're going to start sanding now, and you have 3 choices, depending on your budget and how much elbow grease you want to put in. The first one is the cheapest. It's just a sanding block and a piece of sanding paper. Like that. Very effective, I use this a lot. Second one is a palm sander, which is like that. You can pick these up for about £30, $40, and you attach the sandpaper on the bottom here, attached by Velcro, like that, and you just sand like that. It's a lot quicker than that, but you end up with the same results. Oops, the next one is what I use, is this. If you want to go big guns, and you can use this tool for loads of other jobs, not just sanding, it's a Dewalt multi-tool, and this is the quickest and most precise, but it works in a very similar way to this palm sander, and that it's got a Velcro bed here, and you have the different grades of sandpaper, which you attach to it like that. So we're going to do the easy bit first. We're going to tackle the drawers, and we're just going to take off this front face here. But to get a good job, we need to remove this handle. Most handles, you just put a screwdriver in the back and then hold this still while you unscrew the handle. This one has got a nut in it, so you hold the bolt while you're untightening the handle, and it'll just come off like that. When you choose your sandpaper, you've got to make sure you get the right number, because we've all got numbers on the back here. The lower the number, the coarser the sandpaper. Sure that you don't choose a sandpaper that's too coarse, because if you do, you'll just rough up the surface and potentially take any character it's got. Now for this one, I've got 180 here, but I'm going to try a 120. Now that's quite a fine sandpaper, and it's normally used for finishing or pre-finishing. So let's try that. Put it on the Dewalt. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses, always. Battery would help. Right then, so let's start off. Turn this down. I'm going to turn the power down a little bit on that. Let's see where we are with the 120. Three minutes sanding. And we've got a nice drawer front there. Now, interestingly, this has revealed something else about this drawer. At some point, it looks like there were different handles on it, because you can see a mark there, a mark there, and a mark there. So, oh, look, someone's handily put right on it, which is a very good point, because drawers in old furniture are made for the hole they go in. They are not universal. Many times you could spend adjusting a drawer to try and make it fit, only to have swap them round. They both fit perfectly. So that's something to bear in mind. Next up, we need to prepare the non-painted surface for finishing. Let's have a look. Now then, there's different types: lacquer, varnish, wax, etc. The easiest way to test for wax is if you have a whole load of sticky stuff under your nail, then it's waxed. And this, unfortunately, is waxed. Now, you cannot sand this, and I'll show you why. This is why you can't sand it. If you can see, the sandpaper's all clogged up with bits of wax. You will just go through hundreds of these, and then what it will do is it will melt the wax that's coming off, and that will go further into the grain. So we have to attack this a different way. So this is how we get rid of wax. You need a scraper. Now I'm going to start off with this one, which is super sharp, and that's less sharp. We also need steel wool and methylated spirit. And I'm not going to lie to you, wax is my least favourite finish on furniture. If you want to strip it back, it's more of a pain in the neck than any other finish. Lacquer and varnish, you can just take a sander to it, but not wax. So let's get cracking. We're going to start with a sharp one. We'll move to the blunt one if this one is too sharp and digging in. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to remove as much wax as we can with this. As you can see, try and go with the grain, not against the grain. And there you go, see? Right. So just keep going. Okay, we seem to have got off most of it, but now we are going to start the second phase. And for this, I highly recommend that you wear rubber gloves. While we're here, I'm also going to remove the clamp for the wood glue, because that should be ready now. It's not too bad. And the wood filler that we did earlier, which doesn't look absolutely great, but we'll soon see when we sand it. Next stage, methylated spirit. Don't use white spirit. Meths is far more effective at getting wax off, and steel wool. Don't put it all over the top and then try and remove it at the end. That's not the way to do it. That'd be very naughty. But steel wool's a right pain. First day of sunshine of a whole year in the UK. We've got a ball about that big. So we're going to apply, scrub, wipe off as quickly as possible. I got through the whole lot because I spilt it. Up there. Here. Okay, while we're here, we are going to give this a quick sand just to see what the finish is like. It's not as flat as I'd like, but hey ho. So if you look closely here, this is the bit that was glued earlier. There, can you see that? It's slightly proud, so I'm going to sand it a little bit more to get it flush, but it's a lot better than it was. That was a big hole there earlier. And this needs a little bit more filler on it, so I'm going to fill that and sand that down until it's square, just building it up bit by bit. So let's continue getting that nightmare wax off. I did say it was a horrible job. I have a top tip for you. If you're not sure if you've got all the wax off, sand it. Because if there's any wax on there, it will clog that up. Clean. There you go, methylated spirits. So rinse and repeat over the whole piece. Now what I would say when finishing, don't over sand, because this is an antique piece and you want it to keep its character. Like you can see, I could have sanded out these dark bits here, these marks here, and I haven't. Okay, so now I've got the piece on my table in the garden. Now, when I work on these doors, normally I would take them off, but I'm just umming and ahhing whether to do them in situ to save myself the faff, because I've got a nice flat working surface. So I'm going to try that first, and then if I find it awkward, I'm going to remove the doors. I would like to remove this knob, but it's riveted in, so I think that's a no-no. So you just carry on as before with your scraper, getting rid of all the wax. We then give it a light sand to take out any of the imperfections in the wood. Use 180 because I want it quite fine. We're not taking huge amounts of wood off here, we're kind of finishing it. Okay, so the first sand has been finished, and as you can see, it's tidied up some of the filler here, but there are still bits which need doing. I need to get a knife into these little bits to dig them out, put a bit of filler on there, and just do a little bit more finishing. If you look here, there's also a gap which I want to fill. You know, I got this piece free from one of those sites where people give things away because they don't want to throw it into landfill. So I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm going to fill some of the gaps here as well. It's going to look horrendous when you first do it, but when it's all sanded off, it's going to be lovely and smooth. Okay, so I'm just doing the finishing touches now. Basically, it's the final sand, and it's using 180 grit sandpaper just to go over everything and give it a lovely smooth finish. Final stage before final finishing is to clean the piece with a damp cloth. Not soaking wet, damp. And the reason for this is we have to get all the sawdust off. Joe the lodger's over there. I've made him renovate his own bedside cabinet. How are you finding it, Joe?
Yeah, loving life.
Was that sarcastic?
No, I actually like doing it.
He likes doing it. It's good. And then what we're doing after this?
Sorting my car out.
Sorting your car out. And who's got to go under the car?
You.
Me! Thanks for that. Okay, one thing I noticed while I was restoring this is that there is some woodworm here. Can you see the holes? To me, it doesn't look active, but I don't want to take the chance of putting it inside with all my other furniture and it causing an infestation in my furniture. As you can see, it can be quite destructive. You can see here where it's eaten through little channels and they've just broken away. So I'm going to treat that. So the product I use, this, I got it from Amazon. I'll put a link underneath so you can get some too, and you apply it by brush. There. It's like a liquid. Apply it quite liberally because you want it to go quite far into the holes, so if there is any active woodworm, it kills them. You probably wouldn't want to do this if you're vegetarian. Woodworm likes moist, damp conditions, so if you put your furniture somewhere that is a little bit damp, say put it in the garage or something, then it could exacerbate the problem. Basically, the way it works is it goes about 2 millimeters into the surface. So it doesn't go all the way to where the lava is. But as they come back out of the wood, they have to go through it and it kills them dead. It's Saturday night here. I can hear everyone singing in the bars over there because they're all in happy mood because the sun's out. I'm the only saddo at home doing DIY. The woodworm made a little bit of a mess, not too much, it's not too bad, I've seen worse, in holes here and all where they chewed here and chewed away here. So I'm going to do a little bit of a tidy up job. I've gone back to my trusty wood filler here. It's again the dark oak, but it's not dark oak, it's a light colour, and fill in the holes along the top here. I've got a really nice tool, which I picked up very cheaply, actually from Aldi, a supermarket near me. And it is this. It's a flexible blade. And you can just literally drag it in and it pushes all the filler into the holes, like that. It's quite a neat finish. And you can see when dark oak, when it's drying, it's very light. So they were fibbing their heads off when they said that that was dark oak filler. And Another interesting thing about woodworm, I was not bored last night, but I was reading about woodworm, and quite often you don't need to treat woodworm because they will not stay on a piece of furniture if the humidity is less than 12. They will basically just move somewhere else within 2 to 5 years, which is the life cycle of a woodworm. Well, it's not a worm even, it's a beetle. Hello, I'm Spider. I've come to see all my beetle mates, and you've killed them all. If you look closely at it, you can see it's a dark brown colour, and that's because it's made of brass. And when brass tarnishes, because it's made of 67% copper and 33% zinc, it goes this kind of dark brown colour. So we want to polish that up a little bit, not too much because we don't want to make it look brand new because it's an antique, just a little bit to make it pop out a little bit. So the first thing we need to know is a lot of brass is lacquered. Now, if it's lacquered, that's a whole different story. I'll do that in another video. If it's not lacquered, we can use something called Bresso. Lacquer is like a varnish over the top. So if you use Bresso, which is a brass polish, it just won't do anything. It'll just go over the top of the varnish. So you can tell if brass has been lacquered by getting brass polish and rubbing it over the surface like that. Now, if nothing happens, it's lacquered. If it starts getting a little shine on it, it's brass. Now, I've put masking tape around here because I haven't finished the wood yet and I don't want dirty marks on the bare wood. Wipe it with a soft, clean, dry cloth like that. Is you wipe it to get all the residual cream from the Bresso lint off the product, and there you will find you have a lovely shiny knob. I'm going to give this a coat of lacquer, this brass knob, because I don't like polishing, so it gives it a bit of longevity. So what I've had to do is, because this brass knob is riveted onto the piece, I'm going to have to spray it in situ. So while I've masked off for the polish, I've increased the amount masked off here with this builder's cover stuff. So I'm using high coat. This is clear lacquer. This is normally used for cars, for alloys, but I've used it for several brass projects now, and it's really good and quite cost effective, so I'll put a link below in the description. Right, so now we come to the finishing. I had a choice between hard wax oil, which I like a lot, and wax in a rustic pine finish, which I thought would really suit this piece in particular. The benefits, that gives a lovely, rich, warm colour, and it gives it a nice sheen. It's not quite as hard wearing. This is more like a kind of varnish finish. It's not varnish, but you know, it's more durable. You can use it on floors and stuff. Anyway, I have decided to go with this clear hard wax oil. It will change the colour a little bit of the wood as the oil soaks in, but there is no colour in it. So let's start with that. I've got a brush. Key thing to remember with hard wax oil is only apply very, very small amounts. It's not like paint or anything like that. You just need enough to seep into the top layer of wood. So I'll show you. Like that. That's what it looks like on the brush. There, like an ambery colour. Okay. You always do it the same as you would painting, go in the direction of the grain. This conditions the wood as well as give it a protective coating. So it's like a double whammy. And you just keep going. The hard wax oil, you can apply up to 2 coats. It will go, the wood should go a little darker with each coat, but don't apply more than 2. It's not designed to have multiple coats. It doesn't make it better. If you look, you can see the difference between with the oil and without. It will even up a little bit because that will dry lighter, but there is still a slight colour difference because of the oil content. One other thing is one of the limitations of hard wax oil is that you can only get it in matte and satin. You can't get it in any particularly shiny colours like gloss, so that is one limitation to be aware of. Very quickly, I wanted to show you the difference with hard wax oil and without hard wax oil, so you can see that it does change the shade of the wood a little bit.
Don't know.
I tell you what, you lift it.
Yeah.
Put there. You see? That's why I should always have engineers on jobs.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, I just spilt my meths. I'm licking it up. Just look really tatty because all the... Ooh, ow. Just kneeled on a stone.
Ow.
You know those little but significant injuries?
The worst one's Lego.
Yeah, that is bad.
I haven't done it for years, thankfully.
Paper cuts are pretty bad.
Yeah. Like, I'd rather just take a gouge out, you know, like with a proper knife, and then have a little paper cut. They
Yeah.
seem to hurt a lot more, don't they?